Hello, everyone. Dane Krich here with Odyssey Investments, here again with Ismail Madni for our second podcast. And on this podcast, we actually want to talk about the very simple idea of compounding interest and the power of compounding. And so something that Ishmael and I both know, we're both very young. How old are you, Ishmael?
I'm actually 42.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay. You're
I,
not,
I
you're
I
not,
appreciate you thinking I'm young, but not as young anymore, but
you're
still young
young at
enough.
heart. Young
Yeah,
at heart.
very young at heart. That's right.
So I'm 40 myself, so we're both young, which means that we have the great ability to allow our money to compound over time. We still have a long timeline, you and I do. And so I'll tell you one of the things that when I'm talking to people about investing and putting money away, they always tell me, "Hey, I don't have that kind of money to put away right now, that they just, are trying to get by and they're not really thinking about the future. And the truth is, I just want people to be proactive because what they don't realize is the power of compounding and time in the market, it is just one of those great things.
I think the compounding, the time and market, and just how quickly it starts to snowball, right? And I know we're just talking through examples, but just imagine like over time, like you said, what $50 turns into as it compounds, because again, you're gaining 7% a year on what is in there. So $50 goes, you add another 7%, it's like $54 and 7% on top of that, and 7% on top of that, and just goes and goes and goes. And suddenly you don't need to get 7%, 6%, you're doing better than you were at 7%. And then it just the snowball effect, and it's interesting because compounding, you see it everywhere, right? I think when it starts to get exponential, that's where it's really interesting. And Dane, I think, we can go back to examples of COVID. Like it was like three cases, then just compounds from there, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
so we've
Yeah.
got a million people infected, right? Or the world I'm in technology, since so many of the businesses I work with are subscription SaaS businesses. If you're growing at, if you have $1 million in annual recurring revenue and that's growing at 10% a year, you are
Yep.
going to get to 10 million real quick. Then you're going to get to 100 million real quick, and then a billion real quick.
Yep.
And that it's all from the compounding effect. It becomes so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, just to give people an idea, as you just said, I mean, listen, if you had $50 a month, and by the way, I'll tell you, especially with my schedule, I spend $50 a month in fast food trying to get my daughters from school to soccer, and get them something to eat. So $50 a month. If you had $50 a month that you put away, and you did that for 30 years, you put $50 every month away for 30 years at the annual rate of return of the S&P, which is 10%, on an annualized
Yeah.
basis, plus the if you're reinvesting the dividend of the S&P, which is right now about 1.32%, that gives you an annual rate of return of 11.32%. I mean, listen, you would have an investment of $18,000 in, and on that $18,000 in 30 years, you will have made $133,800 in interest. That's 743%, above and beyond your
Ridiculous. Like,
initial investment. That is crazy. And that's what I'm trying to tell people is listen, putting away $50 every single month, you will have made in 30 years $133,000 in interest. I mean, like that's the power of compounding. Just to give you another idea, I mean, listen, let's say you come into some money and instead of putting $50 away, let's say you just got $18,000 from a settlement or,
right.
an estate or whatever. You got an initial $18,000 at that same 11.32%. If you put that $18,000 away and never put another dollar away, you'd actually have $528,000 in the end.
Unreal. That's
I
amazing.
mean, that's total interest of about $510,000. In just letting your money compound in 30 years, that's what? That's 2,837% over the 30 years. That's
That
crazy.
is that is unreal. So I guess the lesson out of it is patience, right? What do you think? I mean, because to me, I think that's a tough thing for everyone to remember, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the truth. Just be patient. Obviously the great Charlie Munger of Berkshire Hathaway said, listen, the power of compounding, there's one rule to it. Never stop it unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Meaning just wait it out, let it compound, let it keep working for you, stay true to your strategies, and in the end, you will have, once again, as we talked about last time, beat not only inflation, but you will have set yourself up for success in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, you just go to any chart on, go to your favorite search engine. There's so many now, and just see compounding, and you see those charts. And I think Dane, you'll agree, right? In your 20s, doesn't seem like much. Then
Yep,
one day you kind of wake up in your mid to late 30s, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got like a decent amount of money.
yep, yep.
Right here, right? Like, wow, where'd that come from, right? And it's very difficult to imagine that, and then suddenly it happens.
Well, the truth is, think about it. If you put $50 away every single month in your 20s, like I said, in 30 years, you'll be 50 and you'll have $151,000 in the bank,
Mhm.
$152,000 in the bank. So, $50 away every single month, starting when you're 20. At the age of 50, you'll have $152,000. I mean, listen, once again, it's just about making people aware of this because we want to be proactive. Now, the last thing I want to see is somebody, instead of saving, get to their 50s and have nothing. I mean, that's
Exactly.
what it's about. We want to make sure that people are proactive. And, there's a lot of good things that you can do with that
Oh,
money.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. No, I think again, it's being proactive and patient.
Yep.
We all want, especially with the market the last few years, right? We all want like that instant gain.
I'll tell you,
But
the last few
yeah,
days
yeah. Well, the
alone has
last
been
couple
like
of
that
days, right?
instant
Yeah,
gain. It's
yeah.
crazy.
It's that's not usual. That's not normal.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, Ishmael, once again, thank you
Thank
for
you. Oh,
joining
this is
me
great.
today. I love talking to you, and I love once
You.
again making our listeners aware of, these great things that they should be taking advantage of.
And they're so easy to do. So easy
That's
to do.
it.
Appreciate it, Dane.
All right, thanks, Ishmael.
Thank you.
All right, bye.